Hey, what's going on, guys? Welcome back. Droid Live Show today, episode 118. It's Friday, August 19th. I'm Kellen. With me, Tim. Tim, say hi.
Hey guys, how's it going? Tim here, as always.
So, big show ahead of us. After a week off, we got Note 7, obviously, in house. Now, today's Note 7 launch day. So, Note 7 everywhere. We've each got one. We've been playing with them, all that stuff. So, definitely some stuff to talk about there. But we've also got HTC Nexus leaks and the phones at the FCC. We have potential Nougat release date. Google released Duo. T-Mobile and Sprint introduced some really terrible new unlimited plans yesterday. There's a lot going on, so we'll try not to be too slow on anything, but obviously we want to talk about it. So we'll just start with Note 7, though, since that is the phone of the hour, if you will. So Galaxy Note 7. Today's the day. It's in stores. If you didn't pre-order a couple of weeks ago, you could walk into Verizon, Sprint, AT&T, T-Mobile, all of them, and buy the phone, the expensive phone, which we're not complaining about. We're just saying it's not cheap. So, yeah, if you want one, you can go get one. Your pre-orders all are probably arriving either yesterday or today, because most of the carriers do try to get them to you by launch day at the latest. And actually, Samsung, what did they say the other day? That the highest pre-orders ever for a Galaxy phone? Or was that just like a report? Or did they actually announce that?
That was a report out of Korea, I think it was the Korea Herald, who has ties with Samsung, if I'm not
basically
mistaken.
Like Samsung's news outlet, I think. Yeah,
it sort of seems that way. Like they always have,
like Breitbart to Trump. I'm just kidding. We're not going to get into that.
No, we're not. They've always got sort of like that direct pulse on Samsung executives. Yeah. So I think someone up top told them, and apparently it's the greatest pre-ordered Galaxy Note or Galaxy phone of all time.
Which is a huge deal, because I thought that was S4. Maybe there was a pre-orders for the S4. Remember, the S4 was the one I think that set all the initial records for them. And then the S5 wasn't such a success, and they kind of went down a little bit. But we're talking even over the S7. And the S7 this year has been selling like crazy. You could say it's kind of brought Samsung back into sort of, well, you know what I mean? Like back into, well, their sales numbers anyway back, right? They're actually selling the hell out of those phones. So
I think it put them back right on track to directly competing with Apple in terms of like, okay, if you're going to either get an Android or an iOS phone, if you are getting Android, you're getting a Galaxy. Like it really, like there's no other option. So I think that's what the S7 did. And it puts Samsung so ahead of the curve when we're talking just sort of like spec comparison to the iPhone. I mean, the Galaxy phones are offering that and then some. I mean, iPhones just aren't competing in terms of, everything I aforementioned.
Yeah, Samsung is kind of back to just destroying everyone at the moment, which is, look, they make really good phones, so it's awesome that they're making really good phones, but and I'm glad that they're, back to crushing Apple, but I feel bad for everyone a little bit. This is totally off topic, but no one else can really compete with the two of them, right, at this point, which is kind of sad. It's kind of sad.
I don't really think it's all that sad. I think it's great because all these other companies, it just proves they need to step their game up, and one misstep could spell tragedy. And like we could get into that, like which companies I think are tragedies right now. There's a few, but more importantly, the Android dominance is what I approve of. Like that's fine with me. As long as an Android OEM is dominating in the market, that's cool with me. So
as long as they stay Android, not that they would actually ever go full Tizen.
Yeah,
I've always go full Tizen.
I've always laughed when like the reports come out like, Samsung's ditching Android. It's like how could you do that? Like I get it. They can make Tizen look exactly like Android, no doubt. But I just don't see it happening, because then you lose Google Play. And when you lose Google Play, that's not going to be good, because the Samsung App Store is garbage.
Yeah, no. I mean, that's exactly it. You can't ditch Android at this point because you don't have apps. You don't have an app store. You don't have that ecosystem that Google provides you. So, yeah. Anyway, so yeah, Note 7 could be the highest pre-ordered phone ever from them, which is a big deal. Anyway, so we have the phones. Yeah, we've had them finally. We've had them each for close to 24 hours ish. Any crazy thoughts? First impressions. What do you got?
When we first held this phone on August 2nd of 2016 in New York, the launch event, I knew I was really going to enjoy using this phone because it feels so good in hand. Unlike other Galaxy phones where you can tell they're curved, obviously, like they fit in your hand pretty well. This is the first Note phone that just fits like a glove. It is completely rounded on the sides, and it feels, this is the best feeling Galaxy phone I've ever held. And it's got a large display, but it's not overly big. It's not too tall, not too wide. Boy, it feels really good. The glass itself that they use is Gorilla Glass 5, which there's been a little mini controversy going on, which we'll touch on later. But the glass is soft. Like, it feels good. It's not mushy or any like soft where you can like press in and it bends or anything, but it just feels really like supple almost. It feels good, smooth and soft. Good glass. Good job, Corning. And good job, Samsung, on the design. I think it feels great. I guess real quick, two things. Speaker, one external speaker on the bottom. Not a huge fan. Doesn't get very loud, at least from my initial testing. A couple YouTube video watches. Not very loud. And also, software-wise, when you pull down on the notification shade to access the brightness slider, the shader, what the heck, it's hidden all the way down. Like, typically you just pull down one and then you can access your brightness, but this, you have to pull all the way down, and then the brightness level is underneath all your system toggles. It's totally not convenient. It's awful. It's terrible. Samsung, what are you doing? I'm gonna call them crummy Samsung from now on.
I would take that a step further, though. So in the old versions of TouchWiz, you pull down once and you have your 5 quick toggles and the brightness slider, which, yeah, I'm with you. I used that thing constantly. But then what you could also do before was scroll side to side to get to more toggles. You can't do that now. They broke that. Now you actually have to swipe the whole stupid thing down. So I used to leave like 5 ones that I used all the time, and then off to the edge, there's like 2 more I would use. Like I would leave maybe the always on display shortcut there or button there and something else. And I would just do like a mini scroll over and hit it. Now I have to swipe the whole thing down and find it. So yeah, they
kind of a pain.
Yeah. So I don't like that change. Other than that, I haven't found too many software quirks that are pissing me off. One thing that we wrote up yesterday was always on display, and how they just made the tiniest change, which makes it infinitely better. And that is showing all notifications in little icons on always on display. Why that was never or still hasn't been introduced to the S7 and S7 Edge is sort of beyond me. But yeah, when you get a notification out from any app on the planet that's on your phone, it shows on always on display. Whereas before it used to just show from the phone app and the text messaging app, which was odd.
I will say TouchWiz overall looks a lot better. And I will point to the settings menu in general. It's a lot less cluttered, right? It's a single list of items. For the most part, it's super easy to find stuff. And if you can't, there's that really comprehensive search option, and you just type in what you want and it pops right up. So far, I'm really liking TouchWiz, and coming from me, that's something. I know. Well, I haven't hated on TouchWiz a ton in the past couple of years. I've always thought it's gotten better, but this iteration is pretty darn good. No complaints.
For sure, best version of TouchWiz yet, by a lot.
Yeah, definitely. And I also want to touch on the curved display. It is curved or edged, but it's not that bad. It's pretty modest, actually. It's definitely not like a S7 Edge or S6 Edge or anything like that. It's well-rounded, and it doesn't make pulling out, like pull-out drawers, navigation drawers, or hamburger menus, whatever. Doesn't make it hard to do or anything like that. It just feels really good. And I gave it to the girlfriend. I did the girlfriend test, and she was like, wow, she really likes the Nexus 6P. So for her, this phone was even better. She was like, wow, it's even easier to hold, not as fat, not as tall. And so she was liking it. I'm loving it. So can't wait to use it forever, I guess.
Yeah, I've got cats howling in the background.
Wow. Your cats are louder than my dogs.
Well, it's funny that actually carries through. He must just have this like perfect like cat meow for microphones. Yeah, that carries through. Anyways, Yeah, so I'm with you in that this phone feels it's probably the best feeling phone I've ever held in hand just because I mean it's
Yep.
still a little large, don't get me wrong. Like I wish there was just an S7 version that felt the same way, but they've done this thing where they've basically connected two glass panels that are curved the same amount front and back to the edge, and so there's not you just don't feel like the side metal frame or anything. It just sort of curves perfectly around. It's rounded, and yeah, it's a dual edge display, and I know they're calling it that, but it's not really an edge display. It's just a curved piece of glass on the edges.
It's very subtle.
Yeah, which I like because I've never really been a big fan of the edged phones. I just didn't like that big slant and I never thought I would use it. With this phone, I sort of get a little bit of that, but it's not this obnoxious edge, just a subtle curve on the edge. And also that makes it when you're using it, it makes it look like the display is like floating in this bubble kind of because it curves up just a little bit, but not obnoxiously. So it's a really cool look overall. In terms of the software, I'm kind of with you. It's a good version of TouchWiz. I really like. It's funny that you mentioned the settings menu because it used to be, and on some phones it still is. Some Samsung phones, where they had like 4 or 5 panels of settings, like depending on the carrier version you got. Or like I think AT&T does it like that paginated style. And even if you made it into a list, it was just like this never-ending scrolling thing. So at least they've like combined some stuff to shrink that up a little bit, which I appreciate. Um, One thing I will say about the iris scanner, which we haven't really talked on much, I don't want to call it just an outright gimmick,
Yeah,
but
we don't talk about it because it sucks.
yeah, I mean, I think we both tested the iris scanner and both immediately then turned it right back off. And I know they're going to promote the hell out of this, like iris scanner, it's the future's now, all this stuff, but like it is so inconvenient to unlock your phone with an iris scanner. And there's warnings all over, which I think I've touched on a couple of shows now that say like, be careful. This could like burn your eyes out if you're not careful, which, is kind of scary. So yeah, iris scanner probably won't be using that. The S Pen, haven't used the S Pen much, but I never really do, although it's there if I need it, which is kind of cool. I mean, this phone's like the ultimate power tool. It's obviously not a computer, it's still a phone, but it's like when I think of the Note versus the S7, like immediately I think of more powerful, more features, this sort of tool for both work and play. And even though it's the same set of specs almost as what's in the S7, that's the impression that's just kind of been left on my brain about the Note is that there's just, if I want to do more with a phone, the Note's kind of that phone because of the pen. And now they've made it waterproof and they just sort of bake in some extra stuff where they're really trying to continue to sort of push the envelope. So
if I wasn't going to use Google's ice cream sandwiches face recognition, then I'm definitely not going to use Samsung's iris recognition. It definitely works, I will say that, but to get through it, conditions almost have to be perfect. They say if you're wearing glasses, it may not work. If you're wearing contacts, it may not work. If there's a speck of dust on the camera, it may not work. And honestly, I don't know if it's like related to anything. Maybe it's because I ate a late breakfast, but when I used it and that red light is going off and hit my eye, I got a headache.
oh yeah, for
about
sure.
20 seconds afterwards. And I was like, what the heck? And it wasn't like a pounding headache or anything. It was just like a slight, like my head hurt.
Yeah,
I was like,
so could you imagine doing that 50 times a day?
yeah. And I was like, yeah, I don't think I'm ever going to do this again.
No.
But, they do put warnings, and the warnings are more catered towards people who suffer from epileptic stuff, like I think it's epilepsy.
Because it's that really nasty flash. Yeah,
it's a flashing light in your eye. Definitely not good. Like you won't go to a rave if you have epileptic shock or anything like that. So definitely be careful when using the iris scanner, because I got a headache after 20 seconds of using it. So, and I hate saying that, but it's what happens. And yeah. I don't want to try it again because I don't want to get another headache. But I may have to try it again just to prove that it was the iris scanner. But so yeah, again, I'm just going to use a fingerprint scanner. It just works, and I don't have to hold the phone up to my head or anything. Like I just do it and it works. We aren't trying to reinvent the wheel of unlocking our smartphone, right? The fingerprint worked. It's already built into so many applications. banking and Google Play and all that. Why would I want to switch it up? A lot of banks haven't even adopted fingerprint recognition for their apps yet. So it's like Samsung is just pushing that curve so damn hard. And it's like everyone else is playing catch up.
This just seems like they're pushing into an area that I don't know that very many people ask for, though. Like if you wanted to do iris scanning because it's even more secure than fingerprints or something like that, like make a special edition version for the NSA or something. I don't get why consumers need iris scanning. And maybe some business customers do. I don't know.
I'm laughing at Brian just put a comment on our YouTube channel. He said a headache from the iris scanner burned your eyes. You guys are total P words. Dude, like maybe, but
I would like to see in the future. I don't know how that makes me like a wussy, like because I'm afraid that I might be blind soon. Like I'm now a pansy. Like
yeah, just because I get brain cancer now, all of a sudden that makes me a wussy. Like what the hell? So I don't know.
Such a pansy, Tim. You just got cancer. What?
I'm sorry, Brian. You try it. Like, have you tried it, sir? Anyway, get out of here. Banned forever.
Overall, though, like the cameras, it's really fast because it's the same camera. I'm pretty sure that's in the S7, so the camera experience you're getting. Even though it's a large phone, a 5.7-inch display, it doesn't feel ridiculously large. I thought I had a 6P laying here. Oh yeah, I do. Because a 6P is also 5.7, right?
Yes.
So if I hold it up, it's a little bit smaller. Obviously, it doesn't have the dual speaker setup, so a little bit smaller. It just feels better in hand, I think, because it's not so edgy. It's just so rounded. Really nice phone, that's for sure.
I agree. I always hate throwing it out before the new Nexus phones come and stuff. But dude, I mean, the camera seems great. The display is beautiful. It feels awesome. This is definitely candidate for phone of the year. Easily. So easily. After coming from the S7 Edge, Note 5 beats that out. I'll have to see after, a few days of using it to be sure. But at least from initial impressions, this phone blows me away. So Samsung, like, just bring a truck of cash to my house, man, because I'm totally bought in. Samsung money, let's go.
Some dude in the chat mentioned that he heard it doesn't feel fast, feels slow like last year's. I will say that I don't know now. Today seems better, but yesterday the phone definitely didn't seem that fast. I mean, I don't know. That's because I was going through the setup process, which just takes forever on phones for me now because it downloads like 8,000 apps every time. But yesterday, definitely not the most impressive performance I'd ever seen, but it was the first day, so I can't necessarily. And if he's hearing that, maybe it's for people that just got their phone also on the first day. Like I would give it a day or so to let everything get sort of settled in for a second, because today it feels fine.
Yeah, when it was setting it up and I actually had 90 apps installed, it did take a while, and then it felt a little, I wouldn't say sluggish, but definitely didn't feel like super quick or anything. So I rebooted it after all the apps were done installing, all the Samsung apps were done updating, and it seems great now. So no complaints here, at least in terms of performance after an initial reboot.
Yeah. I mean, it seems fine today. Yesterday, I noticed it being a little slowish, but now it's fine.
Yeah, 90 apps, Eric. Can you believe it? There's actually, because it's T-Mobile, right? So they throw on their bloat, and then I've got a ton of games and a ton of Google apps, Pokemon. There's a lot of apps, dude.
Yeah, mine takes forever. I hate setting up phones because it takes so long to download them all. And Google Play, this is also another topic for another day maybe, but Google Play, when it restores on a new phone, is one of the worst experiences ever, because half the time you don't know what's going on. Like sometimes it'll give you the notification that it's downloading apps and installing them, and sometimes it doesn't. And then sometimes Google Play installs a new version in the middle of that and screws everything up. And then Google Play Services needs an update, which might kill everything because that controls everything. I don't like the restore process with Google Play. It's not really that good. I mean, it's gotten better, but it's not good.
Mike brought up a funny point in the chat. He said, turn animations off too. Typically, when you turn animations off, it'll make you seem like you're jumping from screen to screen super fast. Oh, your phone is awesome, blah, blah, blah. This reminds me of a time, very quick story. We were at a demo, like a press briefing for a company. I'm going to leave them unnamed. So we go to the press briefing. They were talking about how good the performance of the device is. So we finally get hands-on with the device, and interestingly enough, I see that the developer settings are already enabled, meaning they tapped on a build version or whatever like 5 times. So I go in there and I notice that they had the animations cut down to like 0.25, a quarter of what they normally are. And I was like, oh, interesting. So they made it seem speedy and quick by just turning off animations, basically.
Because
and I thought,
their own animations were trash.
yeah, and I thought that was the shadiest thing I had ever seen at the time by a company. And yeah, so shout out to them for being smart, just like Mike. I think it was Mike. But yeah, I like window animations. I think they've gotten a lot better. Definitely not as janky as they used to be, like gingerbread days. But yeah, if you want your phone to feel extra fast, sure, go ahead, turn off your animations.
This thing is filled with animations, though. Like the folder animation now is very iOS-ish. Oh, here's another thing I hate: the folders. Folders now only show 9 apps in a full screen mode, and then you have to flip between different pages of them. I want another row, or pack those apps in more or something. The folders on Samsung phones have been getting crappier for a while now.
Yeah, definitely not a fan of Samsung's folders, although the kind of like the protected folder, secure folder, where it's fingerprint protected, very nice. I like that. I mean, that's been built into Knox, I'm pretty sure, for at least like 2 years now. So I still like it, though. So good on Samsung for doing like protecting. I like protected apps.
We should probably actually write that up so everyone knows exactly what that is, because it is a pretty cool feature that you can protect some stuff.
It'll be in the tips and tricks video, probably.
Tips and tricks. Yeah, so we have the phone. We're going to cover the crap out of it for the next few days, lead up to a review, in case any of you are still on the fence, haven't made up your mind yet, or whatever. Yeah, Note 7 seems like a really nice phone. We have Nexus phones coming. The odd thing is, because the Note 7 so early, and then the Nexus phones may not be here till early October, but we have the V20 coming. I guess it would be pretty normal schedule for the year. I was going to say, if once Nexus phones come out, there's going to be nothing left for the rest of the year, but those might not be here till October. So Never mind. It's just a normal year.
We had Sean and Curtis in the chat say, why don't you just use Nova? And like, trust me, once we are done with the reviews, we will put on Nova or ADW or whatever Kellen's running these days, Google Now Launcher. Just when we're doing the reviews, we want to experience it just how Samsung intended it. So we use their TouchWiz launcher, and we don't really screw around with any of that. So there's that.
Yeah. So yeah, when we do a review, we try to leave it in a stock state, how they present it to us and to most consumers, so that when we review it, we're trying to give them a fair shake on the software experience. But yes, if these become our phones after the review period, for sure, like that's the first thing. It's actually fun when you go through that, because you go through this whole period of using it as Samsung sort of envisioned. And then when you get done and you set it up your own way, like how him and I like to set our phones up, it almost becomes a new phone in a way, because the experience changes a little bit, which is always fun. Fun fact, actually, well, or not fact, but just note, when I reviewed, I think it was the V10. I reviewed it. No, it was an LG phone of some sort, and I didn't use the LG launcher because their software is so bad that I threw on Nova. And in my notes of my review, I said, "Hey, just so you know, their software is so bad, I didn't want to tear it. I wanted to use it like I would use it." And a bunch of people in the comments are like, "That's bullshit. That's biased. You can't do that. You have to review it the way it comes out. Like, that's not fair." And I was like, "Oh my God, I can't win." So you would rather me sit here and just trash on their software for half a review, or I could try to run it my own way and see if I liked it better. It was sort of an experiment, and yeah, all these people in the comments are like, "You can't do that." Okay, so anyway.
How dare you? You have to be an Android purist and use whatever the OEM provides you.
Yes.
If you're lucky enough to be provided a working launcher, or my God, the keyboard. I will say, I never use the standard keyboard that comes on a phone. I always install either Kruma, I love Kruma, the name Kruma, or Google Keyboard. Especially Samsung's, LG's, worst keyboards in the world. HTC's, I think they come coupled with SwiftKey now or something. Oh man,
it's even worse than that. It's I can't even remember their name.
It's like T9 or T something. I don't know. Either way, I don't use that crap.
I actually still have the Samsung keyboard enabled, and It is. It's some kind of experience. The autocorrect is terrible. It's slow and hesitates between, because I'm a pecker when I tap, right?
Right.
And it's slow. The autocorrect's terrible, and yeah, I'm gonna ditch it any minute now because I can't handle it anymore. But I gave it a shot. Let's see. So Samsung, outside of the Note 7, they also released a whole bunch of other products today. New Gear VR, which is the new Gear VR that has a dual. Well, you can swap out the port on it, so it'll work with your S7 and the micro USB, or Type C and the Note 7 and all of the future Samsung phone. The Gear 360 camera is actually available in the US finally. Their Gear Icon X wireless earbuds are also available today. Some new level active headphones. And then through AT&T exclusively, they released their first car accessory, which is a Connect Auto, which plugs into your whatever that port is, the OBD2 port that basically every car, I believe, has. And it connects via LTE to AT&T. There's an app, and it'll tell you some diagnostic stuff, but information about your trips and location of your car and things like that. And I believe that thing's actually free, but you do have to sign a contract with AT&T for a data plan. And I don't know how much that costs, but
Probably too much.
probably way too goddamn much.
I love how I saw a Samsung rep today on Twitter, like praising Samsung for bringing LTE to cars. Like, dude, come on, who cares? Every car's got Wi-Fi these days, dude. Don't act like you're special.
Well, Verizon's been selling their little car thing for a while, and I'm pretty sure it does the same thing.
Yeah, I'm not overly impressed with LTE in the car or Wi-Fi or whatever. Like, I remember back in my day, like there was no such thing as LTE or Wi-Fi. I
One
like
of those things I don't get. What do you
trips.
need Wi-Fi?
Well, your
so it's
bored
LTE.
kid who's screaming in the backseat, who won't shut up, who wants SpongeBob, he wants Dora the Explorer.
I guess that is
has to
it,
be
right?
dude. That has to
your,
be it.
For your whiny little kid that needs a tablet all the time in the back. I guess that's it. Otherwise, while I'm driving, it's not like I need access to that.
Mm-mm.
Or I guess if you're driving and you're streaming, you could be streaming off of that Wi-Fi signal instead of using your phone's data plan. I mean, I don't know how much data that comes with it. I don't know. Does anyone in the chat have one of those car LTE or Wi-Fi? I think Ford sells trucks now that have LTE.
Yeah, Chevy's got Sprint, I think, in their cars. Oh God.
We'll talk about Sprint a little bit later.
Yeah.
Anyways, any other things about the Note 7 before we move on?
It's really good. This Batman look is so hot. It's like it's all blacked out, no silvering anywhere, anything like that.
It's basically the Batman S7 Edge with no bat symbol.
Yeah, it's real hot. Oh, someone talked about battery. Can't really tell you after a single day, especially with yesterday having to set it up and stuff. So right now, I haven't been on a Wi-Fi at all. It's 1:30 p.m. Pacific time, and I'm at 75%. And I played a little bit of Pokemon Go this morning, and I made a couple of calls. I had to call Samsung for a story that I wrote up, which we'll probably touch here in a second. But other than that, it seems fine. 75%. I mean, that's good for me. And because it's a new phone, I've been holding it a lot and like looking at it, and the screen's been turned on. So
yeah, I mean, I've been on Wi-Fi the whole time.
You better turn that off.
I know.
You're not a purist.
Well, no, today I usually do like a little bit of a mix, but I got up really early today.
Oh my.
Like 5. So it says I've been 8.5 hours on battery and I'm at 67% still. That's an hour and a half screen on time. So I haven't been like hammering on it because I've been doing stuff, but I don't know. It's 8.5 hours and I've still got 67%. It's not that bad.
Yeah, I've got 5.5 hours on battery. It says Pokemon Go has used 65% of my battery, which is, I guess I used Pokemon Go a bit more than I expected. But the screen on, I was going to check the screen on time. Right now I'm at 1 hour and 10 minutes. So it sounds like Pokemon pretty much raped my battery.
Yeah, it sounds like it.
Yeah.
All right. So yeah, no, I mean, anyways, on that note, there's been some comments about 3,500 milliamp hour not being big enough. How much bigger do you guys really need to go here? I know there's some phones that have 37, 36. There might be some random Huawei stuff in China that has like a 4,200 milliamp hour battery, but no one wants that crap. 3,500 milliamp hours should be enough to get you through a full day. until we get new battery tech, we're never getting through 2 days, people. It's just the way it is. Like, I don't know why it needs to be 5.
Yeah, like I understand why people want a large capacity, but currently it's just not going to happen. Like, what's fine is fast charging, fast wireless charging. If I can charge my phone full juice in 20 minutes, then I'm not really going to be complaining about my phone dying like sort of earlier, I guess I should say. But I get it. We should all have phones that last 2 days. Like, that's great. I just don't see it happening, this week. So it's no big deal.
The Galaxy Note 2 had a 3100 milliamp hour battery. It was removable, of course, but
right. Yeah, I mean, well, look at the way they've slimmed these phones down, dude. Like, where do you want them to stick 5,000 milliamp hour battery? Yeah. It's just not possible. We saw the teardown, I think it was yesterday, and there's hardly any room in here for a battery. I'm surprised they even fit that much in here. The S Pen mechanism and all that, the compartment for where it's stored, that actually takes up quite a bit of space. There was a whole lot of stuff going on in there. They had the wireless charging coil coupled with the NFC chip all right on top of where the battery sits. So really,
it's still this good size.
Yeah, this is a manufacturing miracle. This shouldn't even exist. This is great. So props to Samsung again. Bring that truck of money to Samsung. I will defend you to the death.
back that truck up.
Beep, beep, beep. Oh, my money truck is here. Excuse me.
I think I got my cheap 360 confirmed. Oh, I totally did. Huh. Anyway. All right. So moving on from Note 7 then. We just talked about it for like 30 minutes.
I know, but still, I mean, we've been waiting for this phone for quite a bit. So
yeah, we have been. Yeah. All right. So latest in Nexus rumors. So let's see. Beginning of the week, we got a couple of pictures. It was just over the weekend. So this random Twitter user who showed up out of nowhere and no one knows who it is posted some pictures, blurry cam zoomed shots of a person holding what they said was new Nexus. And it looked sort of like the mock-ups that we saw from a month or so ago. And then like the next day, Android police dropped images of the device. Not necessarily blurry cam, but they were super cropped, obviously to protect sources. And it does look like the renders we saw. I'm just not thrilled with these. So I guess I can try to explain it. So there's sort of a glass panel on the back, or clear plastic panel, fingerprint reader on the back. I mean, it looks a lot like an iPhone, a little bit with the bands at the top and bottom and where the camera placement is. But then the sides kind of have that crease sort of Nexus 4 look. And then the front looks like an HTC One A9, which is not something I would necessarily say is a good thing. Yeah. So, did they say which phone this was? They said this was the smaller, so the Sailfish. It looks okay. Not great. Ron Amadio from Ars Technica kind of ruined it for, I think, a lot of people. He posted this picture of the HTC One A9 over top of it, and it just looked, and he called it basically a recycled design, I think, or something like that.
Right.
And it kind of does look like they recycled some A9s. Yeah.
Yeah.
It just has this giant chin with nothing on it, no speaker, no fingerprint reader, nothing. So it just seems like a waste of space.
All right. That's exactly where the fingerprint reader would have gone on the 1A9. So
right.
Ron pretty much, it's, you call a spade a spade. So
yeah, he ruined it.
He did. I wouldn't say he ruined it. I mean, Google and HTC sort of, I don't know what they're doing. This kind of tends to happen. Yeah. Like Google will choose something that's sort of odd or just unorthodox, you would say. I mean, it's different. It's interesting. But then typically, by the end or once the device is finally launched, maybe people get hands-on with it, they start to like it. Mm-hmm. I don't see anyone complaining about the 6P's black bar across the backside anymore. And at first, everyone thought that was the ugliest thing they ever seen.
Right. The hump, we called that. It's not even really a hump.
It's not even a hump. So I think people are overreacting just a little bit. Wait till you see a photo that's not total crap. I would also suggest that. I mean, these photos...
Or until someone does actually hold it in hand too.
Yeah, we've got these terrible photos. I'd rather have nothing than these, what AP gave us. And like, no offense to the leak or anything. I'm just saying like the photos are crap. That's all.
Yeah, because leaked photos are just never, they're never good, right?
Yeah, and I'd still rather just not have leaks in general because I love the excitement kind of leading up to an unveiling, but it's whatever. Fingerprint reader on the back, definitely a fan of that. They've got a little bit of chamfer, it looks like, going on the edging. Definitely a huge front-facing chin. Not a big fan. You said holy chin in the write-up, which made me lol. But they're Nexus phones, right? Because they just look different. So automatically to me, I'm like, okay, this looks like kind of a Nexus design, right? Because no two are alike, unlike a Samsung phone where all these new Galaxy phones look exactly the same, basically. So
yeah, although we are sort of expecting this one and then the bigger one to look identical, just be bigger.
Just be bigger, yeah.
Hopefully that means a smaller chin if it's going to be bigger. More speakers. I don't know. It has that weird googliness to it, but it also just looks like a recycled phone that I don't know that I can get that excited about just yet. I'm sure it'll run great. And look, the 1A9 was a smallish phone. So for people that liked smallish phones, the 1A9 felt fine in hand. It was made with premium materials. It was just, a low end phone that none of us really cared about. But I guess if this takes after that phone, but it's got high end specs in it, along with a 1080p display, like I guess I don't really have that many complaints, but it's just that damn chin. The damn chin.
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, I'm not going to write it off yet. We still got a bit to go. So
hey, if anything, so last year we got the 6P premium metal big phone. Everyone loved it. And then we got the 5X. It was like a cheap piece of plastic. And while I still, have a little bit of a soft spot for the 5X because of the size, like this thing is a cheap piece of plastic and it's not really that nice of a phone. Now we're supposed to get two premium phones. One's just smaller, one's bigger. So if you're interested, if you liked the 5X or you were excited about the idea of the smaller Nexus, this is probably yours. And this phone's going to be probably way better than this 5X thing. So there's a reason to get a little excited.
Yeah, it's possible. Maybe Google will release a red version, a blue version, green version. It'd be nice if they release some colors. Almost what they did with the 5X. Like the 5X came in a couple of colors, came in that red that was super hot, but give us like a red. Give us a neon green or something.
The original 5 in that red color was one of the great Nexus colors of all time.
Oh, absolutely.
They just released it too late. Everyone had already bought the white and the black.
Yep.
All right. So in related news, two phones under HTC's FCC ID stopped by this week, and they are indeed the two new Nexus phones. Look, it doesn't say Nexus phone. These are the new Nexus phones in the listings, but they do say if you want the manual, you need to go to support.google.com/Nexus. So there's no reason other than the fact that these are Nexus that HTC would be putting a link to manuals of phones they make on Google's website under the Nexus category. So the two phones did stop by. We didn't really get any new specs or anything like that. We just sort of have model numbers. We also know that these are universally accepted at all the US carriers. So you're talking, you have LTE bands for CDMA and LTE of Verizon and Sprint, and then obviously GSM for AT&T, T-Mobile. So definitely going to be fully unlocked, or at least work, on all the carriers like the last couple of Nexus phones have. So that's good news. Other than that, there wasn't really a lot in there. Obviously Wi-Fi and Bluetooth and all that stuff in there, but the big thing is that this is HTC's FCC ID. They mentioned Nexus. We have model numbers, and we know it's going to work on all the carriers. So this doesn't necessarily mean that launch is right around the corner. I mean, we used to see phones and stuff hit the FCC and then not show up for a month, 2 months. I mean, what did we see a couple of weeks ago? Like NVIDIA had a new Shield tablet hit the FCC, and they just canceled that thing, right? So not that Google's going to cancel these phones. I'm just saying, like, things can go to the FCC, and that doesn't necessarily mean they're, ready in the next week. So
yeah,
but still, that's big news. That means we're getting closer.
We're close. We're close. That's all we can say. My
guess is that obviously Note 7's out now, and then in 2 weeks, 3 weeks, the LG V20 will be unveiled in San Francisco on the 6th, and then I think Google will do their thing like right after that, is my guess. The reason I say that is because LG's been pushing that they have the first phone with Nougat, and obviously they're not going to say that unless they know kind of a little bit maybe what Google's up to, right? I mean, they're not just going to say that and have it not be true. So LG will get a chance to show off their V20 and it's running Nougat, and then like a week later, Google will go, "Here's our phones also running Nougat with this new Nexus experience," which I think they're also going to really push like their experience, right? So yeah. I think we got a little ways to go. I think it'll be probably a month, maybe not a full month, maybe 3-4 weeks until we see them unveil these phones. At least that's just my guess. I don't have like sources saying that. That's just my guess based on what's coming. Let's see. All right. So Android Nougat, speaking of Android Nougat, TELUS is a Canadian carrier, right?
Yep.
TELUS.
Well, the telecoms company, yeah, the carrier.
Yeah. So they, on their sort of product support site or forums, posted this week sort of an outline of updates coming to phones in the near future. And they say on August 1st, 6P, 6, 5X5 are getting a security update, which they did. And then there's some other Samsung phones in there. And then towards the bottom, it says Huawei Nexus 6P and LG Nexus 5X getting Android N update on August 22nd. So August 22nd obviously is Monday. That's really soon. Yeah. And so a couple of things. Obviously, these things change. I think it even said it on their site, right? Like these are not final. Things could change or something.
Subject to change.
Yeah. So that's not an official announcement or anything that the 22nd is the day, but it very well could be the day. And when they say those phones are getting an Android N update, they're not talking about the preview. They're talking about the actual update here. So I mean, circle the date on calendars because this Monday could be the day. And we were talking about it this week, how there was a chance this week could have been the week because they've continued to release the previews sort of right around the middle, around the 15th-ish of each month. So this week could have been the week, obviously wasn't, but then next week wouldn't be a shocker, I don't think.
Yeah, not at all.
So yeah, look for that. And we've explained this before, but just because Nougat could be coming next week, that doesn't mean new Nexus phones are coming next week. Like Google, at this point, Google doesn't really do that, right? They stopped. I think it was maybe just last year where they used to say like, here's a new version of Android and new phone, and it'll be the first phone to run it. They used to do that. They don't really do that anymore. Like last year, all the current Nexus phones got OTA updates to Marshmallow, and then the 6P and 5X came out like a month later. So if anyone's like on this thing where, yeah, no, Nougat can't come out until the Nexus phones, that's not true at all. Last year it came out, I think it was like October 1st or something like that. And the new Nexus phones didn't even ship until early November. So there was a month gap in there. So Google could release it. And if you own a Nexus phone, you'll have Nougat potentially next week. And then new Nexus phones we may not see for a month, 2 months. We don't really know. So let's see. In other Nougat news, Samsung apparently said that the Note 7 will get it in 2 to 3 months. Who knows if they'll stick with that? They didn't put like a hard line or hard date or promise or anything like that. They just said that's the goal. And then LG announced that some G5 owners in Korea are getting to beta test it. But it's like 2,000 people, right?
Yeah. 2,000 people out of about 2,000 owners. So pretty much every G5 owner, I think, is getting to test it.
So bad. I mean, it really though. I was almost going to say so, like nobody, because 2,000 is nothing in the grand scheme of things. But as you just mentioned, I don't know how many people actually bought the G5. They might be struggling to find testers.
Dude, it doesn't seem like anyone bought it. Like no one has ever emailed me talking about their G5 problems, or I've never been on Twitter saying, "Oh, my G5 has this issue," or "What's up with this?"
"Hey, my G5 just got an update." We don't get
those emails.
No, we don't.
Sorry, OG.
I hadn't actually thought about that, but you're totally right. We don't even get those emails. And we get them for everything, folks. We get them for old Droid turbos and Maxes and everything. Yeah. We get the emails say, "Hey, my phone got an update." I don't know that we've ever seen one for the G5 or G5. Yeah. All right. So that's pretty much it for Nougat news. All right. So Google Duo was released. So Google Duo, Google's new video chat app, one-on-one video chat app, was introduced initially at Google I/O back in May, along with Allo. This week, they released Duo to the world. They did not release Allo, unfortunately. So Duo is exactly what they said it was going to be. Dead simple. You needs a phone number to sign up for, and then it uses your contact list, and it recognizes those phone numbers in the contact list to see if those people have Duo, and then you can just video call them whenever you want. Just tap on them, video calls them. It is about as simple as it gets. There's been a lot of talk about it.
Why?
Yeah, I was gonna ask you, or have you even used it yet?
Nope.
I,
I installed it, you know, and
yeah, I
all that,
installed
but
it.
I have not used it. Like, I don't have anyone who I want to video chat with. I'm sure other people do in their lives, but I don't.
Yeah, so obviously you have a 2.5, almost 3 year old, and so the grandparents want to video chat with him a lot. And the
Sure.
other day, I think it was the day after Duo came out, and I told everyone to install it. I still video chatted them in Hangouts. And I did that because I have continuous like Hangouts conversations with them. And so I just tapped the video button in the conversation, right?
Right.
Because it's an all in one thing. And I get that Google is trying to do dead simple video chat, sort of like FaceTime and make it separate, but it seems kind of stupid. Now I have to retrain myself to use this when the Hangouts messaging service I use has video in it. So it seems kind of stupid, but early reviews, everyone seems to think it's great. I just am like, I already have Hangouts. And everyone I know uses Hangouts, so why not just use Hangouts? But has anyone in the chat talked about this? No
It
one.
appears that no one has used Duo in the chat. They just say, why not one app to rule them all?
Yeah, and so Google kind of addressed that. I think they talked to Engadget and said, we want to keep all this stuff. We want it separate. We want dead simple video messaging or chatting separate from our really powerful messaging client. I don't know. I guess I don't fully understand that approach. It just seems like if your messaging client has a video button in it, or at least if you're going to have them separate, at least allow Allo to have a Duo button so that if I do want to quickly video chat, I can hit that and then maybe it opens Duo. I don't know, but having to exit things and go into different apps, that just seems like we're adding steps to things that don't need to be there. But,
it's redundant.
Yes, it is. They did mention though that Hangouts will sort of get this more enterprise business focus, and that Allo and Duo will be the consumer options is what they're going to push for. And that's fine, I guess.
Hangouts is like the worst name for an enterprise messenger client that I've ever heard. So maybe they should work on that too.
Maybe they should rename Hangouts. It's fascinating to think how crappy Hangouts has sort of become, or it's just become like this terrible stepchild that Google just doesn't want to deal with anymore, is what it feels like a little bit, because they launched it around the time of Google Plus, I think, right? And it was the future. And I mean, that's all they talked about. It's the future. It's the future. We're going to bake in Google Voice integration. It's going to do SMS and do all this stuff. And it's going to be so great. And then all of a sudden it just stopped. And then people started complaining about like iOS getting updates first and a different UI, and then the Android one would slowly catch up, but it would be different than the iOS version. And then the features weren't there. And then they started taking features out, like SMS or like the merged conversation. It started. You could tell they're backing things out of it, right? Because they want to eventually push people away from it and have it just be like a business thing. Like, I think that's why they killed the merging. They'll probably kill SMS out of it because they've been they have that pop-up in there that says like, go use Google Messenger. So I think they're stripping it now back down to make it this probably business conversation thing. But
yeah, I'm tired of them. Like, they got the board over at Google HQ, Googleplex. They just throw ideas at it, and whatever sticks, they're like, okay, let's go for it. It's a moonshot, but let's go for it.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I'm just sort of I'm tired of that from Google. Like, Hangout still works. Like, I use it for my desktop talk when I'm talking to you all day or chatting with whoever in my life. But it works, but it's definitely not all that great. I have like 3 different UIs I have to switch through depending on like what computer I'm on for UI. For example, there's like this new Chrome extension that has like these separate pop-out windows on Mac, but these pop-out windows don't connect to each other like the standard Gmail Hangouts UI does when you expand them. So there's a lot of different UIs, and none of it it's not uniform across the platforms, and for me, it's not fun. But
yeah, what I think what what I'm struggling with on this potential move to Allo is that, like you, I use Hangouts for everything. I have the desktop Chrome app up, and I talk to you in it for work stuff, and my wife and other people and friends, and then like I have another one because I have multiple accounts, right? And then the other one I have open is family and more friends, and so I keep track of all these conversations on desktop. And Allo doesn't even have a desktop app, right? And Google, I don't think, has said, yeah, we have one planned in the future. And it'll look like WhatsApp does, right? WhatsApp has a desktop client, and Facebook Messenger, you can still chat and all that stuff. So you would think Google will, but they're not saying that that's happening. So that means I have to, every time, if I switch to Allo and all my friends and family and stuff like that, and I keep Hangouts just when I talk to you, I guess, for work, that means every time messages come in and I'm sitting at my desktop, I have to pick up my phone to message people. Like, I want a desktop experience too, because most of us sit at a computer all damn day. So yeah, I don't really like unless they give me a desktop app, I'm kind of not really that happy about Allo becoming the big consumer.
it's sort of a pain. Like, I feel like I have to run BlueStacks or some virtual box or whatever,
Or a
mystery
Chromebook.
machine. And yeah, so I can just run an Android app on my desktop.
Right.
And
Except that it's going to need a phone number. So you can't even really do that either, I don't think.
Google, what are you doing?
Right.
I don't know. I guess we'll find out, right? Allo is undoubtedly going to launch soon. So
I would think so, yeah.
I assume it's going to launch with Nougat. So yeah.
Yeah, hopefully soon, right? Yeah, because it's not like these apps are stuck to the new Nexus phones. They're going to be for everyone. So they'll want to push them out, I would hope, sooner than later. Did they say this summer, or did they just say later this year? I can't remember what they said.
They said summer for Allo, right? Yeah.
So we're running out of summer then, so.
Yeah, we are. Although it doesn't feel like it's 100 degrees here today.
It's hot in Portland, folks. Just stay away from Portland if you can at the moment. It's no fun.
Hell. Yeah.
It is. We're melting in hell.
Yeah.
All right. T-Mobile and Sprint. Well, AT&T released a new plan this year, but T-Mobile and Sprint have new unlimited plans that they were really excited to announce this week. It's actually, it's funny because T-Mobile, they tried to, so we'll get into the plan specifics in a second, but T-Mobile announced Uncarrier 12, and they did it yesterday morning, and they tried to keep it under wraps. And during John Ledger did a video sort of vlog or blog about it, if you want to call it that, and then they held a little press conference, and they kept bragging about how none of this leaked. We kept it under wraps, and they were so proud of the fact that it didn't leak, right? And then like an hour after they announced everything, Sprint announced basically the same thing. So clearly Sprint was in the know somehow on what was going on, right? Because they announced basically the same thing. Although it's in some areas it's slightly worse, which is scary, than what T-Mobile did. But they were bragging about how it didn't leak. And then Sprint announces the same thing. And Sprint, you can sign up for it today. T-Mobile's doesn't come till like the 6th. So kind of funny. Anyway, let's talk about what they are, right? So T-Mobile said, we're going all in on unlimited. Then they announced a new plan called T-Mobile One, and it's an unlimited plan, and you get unlimited talk, text, and data, and then you get unlimited mobile hotspot at just 2G speeds. And if you want more high-speed data for your hotspot, that's $15 per 5 gigabytes. And then they're giving you unlimited video streaming, only at 480p. And if you want HD or higher, that's $25 per month per line. And then they give you their simple global stuff, mobile without borders, carrier freedom, that stuff. And it costs $70 for one line. You can add a second line on for $50, and then lines 3 through 8 are 20 per. And then if you want more than that, it's 30 per after that. But those prices are only with auto pay. So really, if you sign up for one line, it's $75 per month if you don't do auto pay. And let's see. So those launch September 6th. And when those launch, Simple Choice goes away. So if you're a new customer coming to T-Mobile, or you're a current customer that wants to switch, that's your only choice. And so if you're an individual, the cheapest plan you can get at T-Mobile starting on September 6th is a $75 plan that could be $70 if you go auto pay. Whereas how many other carriers out there offering cheaper plans than that?
All of them.
All of them. So that's their deal. So we pointed out 4 things that anyway. Did you want to say something?
I wanted to talk about 2G speeds and what 2G means to the common U.S. consumer. So right now, like the latest gen mobile tech, wireless tech we have is 4G LTE. So to me, if I'm someone who doesn't know anything about it, I'd say, oh, wow, 2G, that's just like half of 4G. So I'll still be getting like 15, 20 megs down, right? That's still pretty good. But no, unfortunately, 2G, you're going to be in the kilobits per second speed range, I'm assuming. So
I just Googled it.
What's 2G speed?
It is 0.1 megabits per second or 0.3 megabits per second, depending on if it's GPRS or Edge. It's Edge. Just think of it as Edge. Remember we used to talk about Edge every once in a while and how I'm on Edge, I can't do anything. T-Mobile thinks you can tether on Edge.
It's insulting, is what it is. And it's unfortunate, right? Because you just said starting out, new customers are going to be on these plans. At first, I was really recommending, for a bit there, I was recommending T-Mobile to pretty much everyone because their simple choice plans are kind of awesome, right? With that monthly thing, you're getting your rollover data, you're getting your music freedom, you're getting your binge on. Sure, it's 480p, but still, it's still unlimited video streaming.
You can also opt out of that at no charge if you wanted to.
At no charge if you wanted to.
Yeah.
So the simple choice plans are pretty great. But this plan it's awful. It's really bad. And then you wrote up an entire post touching on 4 key points why it's bad.
Yeah.
And of course, Verizon they are so happy about this. T-Mobile shooting themselves in the foot, and Verizon's finally like, oh, we got them. Like, we actually are beating them on something finally. All of their PR goons, not that they're goons, they're fine, but all the PR people are on Twitter retweeting our stories, because we're mocking T-Mobile or whatever. Pretty hysterical, but
Verizon's having the happiest day they've had in a long time, right? Because for years, Ledger's been just spewing whatever at them, and they can't really say much except, well, we have an awesome network, except and we're not the only ones that have completely trashed on this plan. Like, most tech sites have taken their turn on T-Mobile, and at least as of the end of day yesterday, John Ledger was pretty much silent. Like, remember when Binge On came out and we all criticized Binge On, and he stood up for it and tried to say, like, you guys are dumb. Remember, he basically called everyone dumb, and he told the EFF like
to go F themselves.
Yeah. And everyone was like, okay, dude, you really don't get what we're saying here. And he never would admit to it, right? No. This thing, he just disappeared. He's had a couple of like retweets of something, but there's nothing he can say, right? The cost of entry is insanely high. And then, the tethering and the throttled video, and then even the unlimited data, it's technically capped at 26 gigs per month. Because once you hit 26 gigs, they can throttle you. It's in the terms. They say, like, it's unlimited, but if you hit 26 gig, we can throttle you. It's a sneaky, dirty plan. Look, if you're a family of 4 and you won't ever tether, and you don't care about watching 480p video on your quad HD phone, it may not be like the worst plan ever, because the price for a family of 4 is pretty low. But if you need any of that stuff, if you're essentially a reader of Droid life, the type of person who uses lots of data, wants to watch HD video, wants to tether, wants to do all of this stuff, this would be one of the worst things you could ever sign up for.
Yeah, I agree all of that. We actually had it was a Sprint. I don't know if we've touched on the Sprint plan yet.
Not yet, no.
Yeah, but then I'll get to it anyway. We had a Sprint apologist, and I love apologists. They're the best. They're the people who defend things that are stupid or that are bad. But he's like, it's not cheap to run data or or to provide these services. It's like, it actually is not very expensive. Yeah, there is the initial investment, but the cost per bit, to provide a user with their data, it's not expensive at all. So the fact that T-Mobile was doing this, and I think, for a couple of years there with all these uncarrier moves, they really put themselves in a position to be like the carrier of the people for the people. Maybe not necessarily by the people, but it was definitely good. And this is the exact opposite of that, which is the only point I think we're trying to make.
Yeah, not that I think they would. I mean, this is a major announcement for them, right? Not that I think they would just kind of cut this and go in a different direction.
Oh,
but
it wouldn't surprise me.
The amount of, I mean, you could call it backlash. I mean, our readers have been tearing them, apart harsher than we have. We just pointed out our issues with it. People are not happy. If you look at some of the tweets from Ledger and T-Mobile about the new plan, it's just the replies to them are just filled with people going, "This is a garbage plan."
Yeah.
I also was thinking yesterday, Binge On was released or announced like a year ago. And yesterday I was listening to the conference call for this new T-Mobile One. And I think it's Mike Seifert is there. I think he might be one of their network guys. He was talking about how they were able to launch this plan because a year ago they introduced Binge On. And he was like bragging about that. And the problem with that is it was basically, at least to me, it was them admitting that what they were doing was testing Binge On. And they were going to test it for a year, number one, to see if their network could handle, hopefully, all these people watching free video, right? But it really seemed to me like they were admitting that we started Binge On and realized that all these people were going to watch all this free video so that we could eventually charge them to watch better video. And that kind of pissed me off when I started thinking about it. Look, he didn't say that. That's just what I took from it. But that's really what it feels like. Like, we introduced this Binge On and we turned it on for everyone, right? So, because that was one of the controversies. It was turned on for everyone. And so then it was on for everyone. So they could test it. And most of these people probably don't even know what it is or that it was on. And so they can show like, yeah, all these people love all this free video and no one minds. And so those people that do mind about crappy video quality, then now they're going to make those people pay for it. And that, I think, is horseshit on their part because, well, there's net neutrality arguments and all sorts of stuff there, but that's what it feels like to me. We went through all this testing so that we could go, oh, you want better video? Well, now you can pay for it. And that's garbage. So
that's wrong.
Yeah. So these plans are bad. I mean, I made a comparison that you could buy, I think it's the 6 gig, $65 a month plan right now. And that includes some tethering, I believe. And it also includes the ability to turn off Binge On. And so it's cheaper. And then you're not stuck with this BS fake unlimited stuff. It's a bad plan.
It's a bad plan. I think they'll ditch it.
I don't know that I would be shocked at this point. I mean, we wrote
if they really listen to the people, John is always saying, I'm always listening to you guys. If he's really listening, then you can't possibly release this. Because like you said, Sprint is doing the same thing. And Sprint never makes a right move. So why would T-Mobile want to join Sprint per se in doing this? So
right. And they did leave themselves some room to potentially get out of it if they want to, right? Because theirs is launching September 6th. Sprint's all in, which we'll go into in just a second. Like, they started today.
Whoops. Well, that's Sprint, thankfully.
Yeah. But I noticed somebody mentioned in the chat about the price. They said, so it's basically they're getting rid of tethering and it's the same 95 plan. I mean, pretty much. So it's $70. And then if you want anything better than HD video, you do have to pay another 25. So you're at 95. And then if you want to tether, it's $15 per 5 gigabytes. So you're looking at $110 if you want the same plan, unlimited plan that you can get now, except it's not even as much tethered data. So right now the unlimited plan is $95. You can turn Binge On off and you get 14 gigs of tethered data. If you wanted 14 gig now, I did the math on there somewhere, I think, but it's like, well, you're talking extra 30s. I think it's $140. If you want to get 15 gig worth of tethered data, the ability to turn HD video on, it's like $130 or $140. It's $50 more basically than what you're paying right now.
Woof.
Yeah, pretty bad.
We shall see. Next Monday or Tuesday, they'll release. You know what? We've rethought these one plans. We have listened to our customers because we are the uncarrier. And
My guess is because John Ledger will die defending Ben John for whatever reason, right? So they'll leave the upcharge there. They're going to leave that, but I bet you they start giving into the tether. I bet you they give everyone 5 gig or something like to kick it off. They'll be like, we're going to give everyone who signs up for the next month a free 5 gig to tethering, which doesn't fix the problem at all, but it'll make some people happy. That's my guess. I don't think they'll cancel it because they made way too big of a deal out of it, but I bet they'll give everyone 5 gigs of tethering. All right, so Sprint, on the other hand, launched a new plan today, and it's basically the same deal, except a couple of tweaks. Not only are they throttling all video, they're also throttling music and gaming, which I don't really get. So the gaming, where is the numbers on that? The gaming, they're dropping. So if you're obviously playing an online game, I don't really know why they need to do this. How many people play online games on their phone that like your data connection really matters?
I don't know. Well, yeah, I don't know. I thought you only needed a data connection while playing a game so you could be served ads.
So are they saying if you download games, you're capped?
That can't be.
It's so weird. It's throttled gaming at 2 megabits per second, which is actually pretty slow. And then they're just streaming music down to 500 kilobytes per second, which that might not be that big of a deal, but the gaming is just weird. So anyway, they're doing 480p video, also capping gaming and also capping your music streaming. And then they're not giving you the option to like buy out of that. You know, like T-Mobile is saying like, we're going to upcharge you a ridiculous $25 to get HD and all this stuff. Sprint's apparently not even giving you the option. So if you sign up for this, you're just throttled and that's just what you get. But what they are doing different is they are giving you 5 gigabytes of hotspot data. If you want more, like another 5 or something, they probably are going to charge you, but they are giving you 5 gig to use. So T-Mobile's not giving you any. You just have to pay for hotspot. Sprint's at least giving you 5 gig right away, but they are doing some other weird throttling.
Yeah, I don't know why I didn't think of this. Cheers, Brian, in the chat. He said those poor Pokemon Go gamers. Yeah, that's a game where you need a constant data connection in order to play it. So, but then there's also games that there is an FPS game that I've played where everyone's in a multiplayer lobby and it's live being sort of streamed. So, you know, I hate this. I hate throttling. You know, if I pay for data, I don't want it throttled on any service. Right. I want my full speed data that I'm paying for, my music, my gaming, my apps, my Netflix, whatever. I'm sick of the throttling. And I think if I'm paying for something, then I should have complete access to it.
Agreed.
It's really annoying, especially with the gaming thing. That I didn't think about Pokemon Go, but now I'll never touch Sprint if I don't have full LTE speeds on Pokemon Go. So,
but it's just setting it up for something that could be, assuming like I guess it would be the FCC, right? That would step up and say, yeah, you're violating net neutrality laws or something like that, right? Because if you start, because they're really starting to pick and choose, right? Sprint's even worse because they're doing gaming and music and video. Like they're taking 3 major areas of your phone and saying, we're going to treat those differently, right? Which is a really, really bad start of something. T-Mobile's only been doing it really with video. But I mean, well, I guess they're doing it with tethering too. They're like, well, you can have unlimited, but your tethering's throttled. This is throttled. It's kind of scary. And, you know, Verizon and AT&T like to copy a lot of what these guys do, although I can't necessarily see them jumping on board with this. The other bad thing about Sprint is their supposedly unlimited cap is 23 gigabytes per billing cycle, whereas T-Mobile's is 26.
We've got... It's really bad. Things for I mean, I can't believe, but like Verizon and AT&T sound pretty awesome right now. Dan in the chat saying, is Metro PCS changing their plans? Please tell me. So Metro PCS, right under T-Mobile, T-Mobile being the parent. Metro PCS hasn't announced any changes yet. Typically, give it about a month because once T-Mobile announces something, then it trickles down to Metro PCS. So don't be... I mean, however, like Metro PCS in terms of the plans, pricing, value, etc., a bit different than T-Mobile, but expect changes maybe within a month if this all goes through. If Ledger says green light that shit, I don't care like what people are saying. I don't care. Do it. So we'll see.
Yeah. Metro PC hasn't announced anything, but
Yeah, but
Sprint.
if you have a plan already, nothing should be changing. You're locked.
Well, with prepaid though, they can
Well,
change you.
that's
Because it's not a
you're not a
contract.
contract. All right. Well, guess you're screwed. Sorry,
Yeah.
Dan.
Sprint did announce a bunch of new changes to their boost plans, I believe. So Sprint did change their prepaid side. The other carrier this week was AT&T to announce stuff, and really so they announced new mobile share advantage plans. They have to like change names every other month, or they don't feel like they're doing work. And really all they did was they adjusted the data buckets, and then they added on throttled data once you hit the end of your bucket, and they're not charging you extra for it like Verizon is. And they're trying to give you more data per buck kind of thing, except for the smallest plan, which used to be 2 gigs, $30. They actually dropped that back down to 1 gig for $30. I don't know. It's definitely not as terrible as what T-Mobile and Sprint just did, but I don't know that I am a huge fan of what AT&T is doing either here, but whatever.
Yeah, I feel like
carriers.
Yeah, I use like an AT&T Go phone plan, month to month, and it seems fine. I mean, in the news, at least everything I hear is that Go phone plans just keep getting more gigs for the same amount of money. I'm like, okay, like sure, I don't get music freedom and binge on and all that stuff, but I get to use my data however the hell I want, and
you get rollover data, and
exactly. So I've got no complaints. I recommend Go phone quite a bit now these days. As long as you live in an area where it's pretty good. So
yeah, as long as you have good AT&T coverage, Go phone is probably one of the best values you can get in. Actually, I think even Verizon's prepaid is a pretty good value these days.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, T-Mobile and Sprint are doing whatever the hell they think they're doing.
They're going backwards.
I mean, the AT&T Go phone plan, which you and I are both on, it's $60, but if you auto pay, drops it to $55, and you get 6 gigabytes of high-speed data, and they just added unlimited, right? So it's throttled after that 6 gig. So you get 6 gig for $55, and then you get rollover data in case you don't use it, and talk and text to and from Mexico, and you can use your data plan up there. Like I was just in Canada like a month ago using my Go phone plan, and I didn't have to do anything. It just worked. And I'm not necessarily a huge fan of AT&T, but AT&T is at least not doing a bunch of crazy crap. They're just like, here. Like prepaid is the way I think most people should go. The only thing you do have to worry about is if they change things, you're just stuck with the changes. But I don't know. Since prepaid, I haven't looked at that in a while. But I think Verizon's prepaid's gotten pretty decent too.
Yeah. Good job, AT&T and Verizon. What the hell? Is this some
praising AT&T and Verizon over T-Mobile?
We have entered the twilight zone.
Yeah, look, so Verizon's is kind of like AT&T's. They have $45 or $60 plans. If you sign up for the 60, they're giving you a bonus 1 gig of, if you enroll in auto pay, they're giving you a bonus gig. So it's still 60 and you don't get the $5 discount, but you get 6 gig of data, just like AT&T has. And then you have always on data, which is their throttle data afterwards. And you can use unlimited text to Canada. You can't use data in Canada, I don't think, but I don't know. I mean, it's pretty good. Anyway.
Ridiculous.
Yeah, so T-Mobile and Sprint are doing whatever they're doing.
Yep.
Let's see. What other topics should we cover? Just quickly, the T-Mobile HTC 10 has apparently been killed by T-Mobile.
No one noticed. No one cared.
No one noticed.
I kind of wanted to talk about the HTC 10. Like maybe I'll do like an opinion at some point, but I just wanted to say like HTC 10 was the worst major flagship phone of the year. Talk about just a totally boring, bland device and experience. I mean, people said HTC were back. They were bullshitting you. That phone is so boring. I was done using it after like a week and a half, and I'm just like, dude, it's just the same thing. It reminds me completely of an M8, M9. I mean, there's really no variation between any of them. So
yeah, it's a nice phone. It just doesn't have anything special to keep it coming back. I know they toned down the UI, their Sense to not close to stock, not really. It's still Sense, but it was much lighter. But yeah,
Yeah,
What an
well, while
uninspired phone.
HTC is toning down their UI, Samsung is giving us TouchWiz that doesn't even look like Android, and I still think it's way better than what HTC
Yeah.
offers. Like that sort of proves a point, I think,
Uh,
that HTC needs to just the HTC 11 or stop with the One phones. I think they just need a total reimagining of what they offer in terms of flagship devices. Because the One line's dead, dude.
it's
Obviously,
time to
T-Mobile killed it after 2 months. Come
it's time to
on.
fully start over for HTC. That's for sure.
AT&T sold the Facebook first phone longer than 2 months. Come
Yeah,
on.
AT&T didn't even want the HTC 10. They never sold it. It disappeared
Lol.
at T-Mobile in July, and no one noticed
No one
until this
noticed.
week. Everyone went, wait a minute. 2 months. Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm sure the Facebook phone was around, in the Amazon Fire phone was probably around
It
longer
was
than
around.
2 months.
Yeah,
And
HTC
yeah,
10.
AT&T never carried it. So the only place you can still buy it, I think it's Sprint and then Verizon.
Oh, speaking of HTC 10, it is now available today for pre-order in 2 new colors, red and gold, for $5.99 exclusively through HTC's website because no one else sells it.
pretty much.
But the red is pretty
Pretty
hot, I
much.
will say. Like, it's a
It is.
good-looking phone in red.
It is, yeah.
So they should have launched it in red, obviously.
Yeah.
Why do they do that?
I don't know. Let's see. Huawei and their Honor brand announced the Honor 8 this week. Pretty high-end prepaid phone, probably their biggest flagship offering in the US under the Honor brand. It's $399.
It's the first
It is the
flagship
first
offering in the US.
Oh yeah, that's right, because the 5X wasn't really.
It wasn't really catered
Yeah.
for US.
So Honor 8 is their first flagship for the US. It's a GSM only phone, unfortunately. It looks a lot like an S7, I would say, just because it's front and back glass, curvy, has the dual camera setup, has their insanely terrible software skin. But otherwise, you get a pretty nice package: 32 gig storage, 5.2-inch full HD display, their own in-house Kirin processor, 4 gig RAM, dual 12 megapixel cameras. And it's not Leica branded, probably because that Leica thing was a Huawei exclusive or already got abandoned, but it does have a monochrome and a color sensor.
Not Leica branded. Yeah.
Yeah, not Leica branded. There will be a 64 gig model as well for $449.
And if you pre-register or pre-order through Honor's website, $50 off. So $350, which ain't bad.
That's not bad at all. I mean, the specs here are actually, and the phone looks pretty sleek. The all white one looks really nice. There's a blue version, which whatever, and the black version looks nice as well.
Yeah.
USB Type C, 3,000 milliamp hour battery. I mean, it's packed pretty good, assuming their processor can hang.
You can't mention this phone without bringing up an announcement that they made. I think it was yesterday. And Agreesive, I hope I pronounced that right in the chat. He brings it up. He says, if you buy that phone, pray to God there's a ROM community for it. So Honor announced a partnership with XDA to get developers building ROMs for this phone, basically. So they're going to open up kernel and bootloader tools and all that fun stuff to get the ROM community excited for this phone. And I'm pretty sure if you are a developer and you're listening to this, Honor is going to be giving out these phones to get you developing for it. So I guess they're just going to go with the modded community to try and buy this phone. At least it seems that way. So
that's actually pretty exciting news, assuming that they actually do open up and share kernel, drivers, all that stuff. Yeah. Because when we had the P9, the Huawei P9, somebody before we started the show asked me if we could review the P9, and I broke it down for them, and I said top 3 hardware of the year, worst software I've ever used in my life is the review. And so that it was one of those things where I had the phone in house and I went to XDA going, there's got to be a community here hacking the hell out of this thing. I'll put some stock on here. It'll be a great phone. And then I figured that out quickly, that there is no ROM community for Huawei phones.
Right.
So this phone, assuming that all that stuff does happen, yeah, if you could get rid of their terrible software and put on something nicer, maybe stockish, it would be probably a really, really, really nice phone.
Yeah, because Huawei and Honor, Honor is Huawei, just in case, and
it's their E brand.
It's their E brand, electronic brand. Not bad hardware by any means. We haven't held the Honor 8 yet. We've got one coming. No idea when it's coming, but it is coming, I've been told. And their hardware is always pretty good. And as you can see, it's got the fingerprint reader on the back, just like on last year's Nexus devices, this year's Nexus devices. It should be good hardware. So hopefully, if a ROM community is kicked off for it over on XDA, that's sort of a big deal. Maybe they can send some to Cyanogen Inc. before they flop, and they can put Cyanogen on it, or
Rest
whatever.
in peace.
Yeah,
Cyanogen, that is.
Right.
Yeah, their hardware's great. Their software is just the problem. Apparently, EMUI, whatever we're calling their software.
MUI.
Yeah, it version 5.0 is supposedly in the works, coming maybe later this year on a different phone. Version 4.1, which is what's on this phone and on the P9, it's garbage. I can't understate how terrible the software experience is on their phones. So if you go into it, just understand that it is nothing like it's nothing like what HTC does, Motorola does, TouchWiz, LG, Google. It is their own massive skin that has very much iOS qualities to it, but with an even nastier in-depth thing for settings and battery killing. It is, yeah, it's bad. Just know that. Otherwise, the phone's fine. You're just not going to want to use it because the software's so bad. Anyways, yeah, that was announced this week at a press event in San Francisco. All right, let's see. We've been going for a while. Google Fiber, just quick news there. They may be switching to wireless technology because they realize, I don't know why it took them so long to realize that building actual fiber lines in towns to homes is really expensive and it takes a really long time to do. So they may be looking into wireless technology that is from a company called WebPass, who they acquired like a month or two ago. And it's interesting. We have a write-up on it if you actually want to go learn more, but that's what's going on with fiber. Do you want to talk about Pokemon Go? I know you got a couple of mentions in there, but like a week ago, there was a couple of big things happening with Pokemon Go.
Yeah, sure. God, this is annoying me. All right, done. Goodbye. So Pokemon Go got an update. I think it was a couple of weeks ago. They introduced grass as a background for Pokemon in your nearby kind of locator tray in the bottom right-hand corner. However, in San Francisco, and I can confirm this by independent sources, that if you go to San Francisco, restart your phone, not your phone, the game, Pokemon Go, you will get the new beta like search feature that they have in testing. And so this new nearby search feature, basically, if you open up your nearby tray, you will see sightings and also nearby Pokemon. And these sightings are not sightings, but the nearby. It will show you a Pokemon that's nearby a Pokestop. And then you'll see the picture of what Pokestop it is. And if you hit that, it'll show you which Pokestop like on the map. So you can actually walk there and get the Pokemon you want. It's not just I'm going to go outside and pray that I find a cool Pokemon. It's like, no, there's a Pokemon I actually want. Now I know where to go in order to get it. That is what's going to bring this game back into the mainstream. Because let's be honest, over the past couple of weeks, it's fallen off a bit. Yeah. And that's unacceptable. I need all news surrounding Pokemon Go. Everything needs to be about Pokemon Go. We even had Hillary Clinton talking about Pokemon Go to the polls. And so if Hillary's talking about it, well, she's not talking about it anymore, but we need Pokemon Go back, and we need to make Pokemon Go great again. And yeah.
Yeah, I mean, no one's playing in it. I shouldn't say no one. There's still little kids all over.
Yeah, there's still plenty of people playing, but the game could be so much better once they introduce this beta feature that has been in testing.
Yeah.
So in San Francisco, it's live.
I would totally play if I could like pinpoint and go, because that gives you some purpose, I guess.
Yeah.
I'll be in San Francisco in like a couple of weeks. Hopefully, it's still in beta. I will get it.
Yeah, hopefully.
Does it like revert back though if I come back home?
Nope, it shouldn't. Got a buddy at Adobe that I follow on Twitter. He said, "Oh yeah, confirmed. Fly to San Francisco, close the app, open the app. You've got the new feature." So, yeah.
I mean, we could go like next week.
So yeah, I was supposed to go to this Honor 8 event this week, and I'm totally sort of bummed that I didn't go now. I'm like, oh, I could have got the new Pokemon feature.
Got the new Pokemon feature.
Yeah, but nah, it's fine.
Yeah. All right, let's see. It's kind of it for big news this week. We did ask people if anyone's using a smartwatch anymore. You know the numbers on that?
Not right off, no.
I don't either. I had a link to it, but it's totally broken, I think.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, it totally is. You linked the wrong thing.
Yeah, I did.
I can pull it up because it actually is sort of interesting. At least the way I worded it. I mean, are you still using a smartwatch? All right, I've got it pulled up. So the numbers are in. We asked, do you still use your Android smartwatch? Being that, yeah, a lot of people adopted Android Wear, but then maybe stopped using it. So the results are in. 10,000 votes. Yes is the top vote at 45%. Nearly 5,000 people out of 10,000 are saying, yes, I'm still using the smartwatch. Ooh, second biggest at 33%, 3,500 votes about. Never owned a smartwatch. So either, at least according to these statistics, these numbers, either
if you have one, you're still using it,
or if you've never owned one,
you just still don't own one.
Yeah, people who said no, stopped using mine, are about 14%, and then occasionally using it 8%. So on us, 22%. So either you are still rocking the smartwatch, or you've never owned one, probably never will. So that's actually kind of insightful.
Yeah.
So
if you bought one, you still love it, and if you've never bought one, you still haven't found a reason to buy one.
Yeah.
Interesting.
That's the way to sum up smartwatches pretty good, right? I mean, I guess for normal people, who have to like buy the smartwatches, if you invest in something, you're gonna want to use it.
Yeah, I mean, they're not cheap. They're $300.
Definitely, $300. You better use it, or else your wife is gonna hit you. So, props to them, man. I can't seem to put mine on a charger every night and like keep putting it on. I just I've got the gold beautiful Huawei watch, and I've got the gold Moto 360, and I look at them every day, and they're just sitting on my table awaiting Android Wear 2.0. So yeah, we'll see. Maybe 2.0 will bring me back into it. I seriously doubt it, but you never know. We should be having a new Huawei watch here pretty soon, in a couple of months, if I'm not mistaken. New Zen watch coming at IFA. Should be a good time.
Let's see. So one app real quick. So Netflix is fast, which is basically an instant speed test they use on the internet. They've just had a web page for it. They now have an app. It's free, and it's actually really, really handy. If you've been using the speed test app from Ookla, look at Netflix's if you only care about your download speed, because you just open it and it automatically just starts giving you numbers. You don't have to hit begin and deal with ads and crap like that. It just shows you your download speed. It doesn't do upload, but it just shows your download speed. I don't know. It's just I find that I use it all the time. I was using Ookla's all the time. Now I use this one all the time because it just shares what your speed is right away.
Exactly. I'm not big on my uploads. So you got UPS there or something?
I do, yeah.
All right.
FedEx. Let me go grab that real quick.
All right. Yeah, well, let's see. What else was I going to say? So he was talking about fast, and that's actually what I've been using now. I stopped using I didn't stop using Ookla speed test altogether, but at least on when I need a quick check just to see if my speed isn't totally broken or something, if my router needs a refresh, I just open it up in desktop, and the Android app, super easy to use. I enjoy it. As for me, I don't really have any new apps to talk about. Well, I was going to sort of talk about like Duo, but there's no real reason there. I've never used it.
We kind of killed Duo already.
Yeah, kill Duo. Google, what are you doing, dude? Yeah. T-Mobile and Google, like, what are you doing? What are you guys doing?
All right, so I don't really have any other big topics, right, for the week?
Yeah, just to sort of recap the show, because it was sort of a long one. People kept asking what our thoughts on the Note 7 were, because we missed it. They missed it. Awesome phone, best in-hand feel of any phone ever. And we are calling on Samsung to bring a truck of money to our place to keep promoting it. And yeah, other than that, and then we talked about T-Mobile for a bit, and the new Nexus leaks and all that. We're close to a lot of good stuff. Like, we're gonna have to pump out this Note 7 review, because then we got LG V20, Nexus devices, Nougat in general. Oh, it's going to be a busy Q3 and Q4 second half of the year.
Yeah, busy month or so.
Yeah.
All right, sweet. Well, yeah, thanks for joining us, everyone. Long show, Friday. Don't melt.
Yeah, stay safe out there, people.
Yeah, for sure. All right, yeah. We'll probably be back. Actually, no, I don't think we will. I'm on vacation next week. Vacation. If anyone wants to like help out Tim for the week, feel free to submit those resumes. I'm just kidding. I think we'll be fine.
Yeah, sure. I'll be all right.
All right, cool. So yeah, we'll see you guys probably in 2 weeks. Look for Note 7 review hopefully next week, and then we'll be back in a couple weeks, hopefully with Nexus stuff to talk about, maybe even Nougat next week. So
yeah.
thanks for joining us.
Bye-bye.